your personal brand inside the system, inside the organization that you are working in currently. This is something that we have done with one of my clients who is going for a promotion that he wants to get within 2-3 years. And we were discussing actually yesterday, finalizing as to how his personal brand will be inside the organization where he's working, inside one of the UN agencies. Now, personal brand, if we want to be very specific, is something that people can associate you with. Usually, it is a problem and the solution that people can associate you with. So, for instance, when people think of me, the association they have is that I can help them be independent from the system. Right? So I talk about how to be detoxing from the system, being independent, and have your financial and emotional freedom. This is the association people will have about me. Now, inside the system, it might usually be currently that people associate you either with a certain characteristics, or people associate you with a certain title, or people associate you with certain gossips and rumors that you might be known for, right? And we are streamlining all of that into how and what do you want to be associated with when people think of you immediately. And ideally, that association that we're wanting is based on what the problem and solution that you can bring to the table and how people can experience you. So I will be talking in this session to illustrate one of my clients, as I said, as we have done this for him, to talk about how we did it inside the system so that you no longer think of personal brand something that you need to do on LinkedIn only or outside, but also inside the organization. And you could even think about it strategically of how can you already start building your personal brand within the system. And then as you transition, you will keep using that to your future vision that you want to live as well. Right? So, in my Humanitarian Millionaires Mastermind, this is really the topic that we're discussing. If my clients haven't transitioned yet, and some of them haven't, then how can we already start building the personal brand inside the organization and the system, and then slowly move this outside to another context? So, let me give you specific examples of how it can be for you and using my client's example. So, the first one that we have done is deciding what he wanted to be known for. Excuse me. You can do this too, right? So you can look at what are you known for currently. Are you known for your titles? Are you known for a certain type of experience? Or are you known for being able to solve certain type of problem? In my client's case, he was already known for a certain type of work that he has done, and in certain contexts that he has done. What we wanted now to do is add him another edge to what he was already doing, the edge of innovation and fundraising with the private sector. Right, so we wanted not only him being known for fundraising and private sector in general, we wanted that fundraising and private sector specifically to a certain type of problem within the organization that he was working in. Once we understand what is it that he wants to be known for, second, we have then looked at what kind of specific problem that the organization is ignoring or having trouble solving. and what kind of problem that organization keeps saying is an important problem that we need to be solving, but still very underfunded or misunderstood or implemented poorly, or it's not implemented systematically. Because we wanted to position my client in the executive position across several continents and not only in his operation, then we thought of a problem that could be applicable across several continents. So in his case, it's Americas and Europe, right? And then we understood what the problem specifically was that the organization keeps talking about how important it is, but still not funding it enough, or not knowing how to fund it, or misunderstanding how to make it so tangible that it can actually be funded from the private sector and systematically across several continents, as I said, with the same topic. In this case, a topic was a very specific one related to refugees. And you can also think about for yourself, if you're doing this, how can you find a problem that your organization you are working in keeps talking about that is a problem, but hasn't been able to solve it, or hasn't been able to solve it at the systematic level, right? So then once we understood what the problem was and why the organization hasn't been able to solve across different operations or continents, then we started turning this into a concept of how he would approach solving that problem, not only in this operation, but in several different operations. And in his case, obviously, we would first start with the piloting of that project in that operation where he works currently, while involving certain operations from another continent, so that we can make the across bridge of different operations working on the same topic together to see how that works in that pilot operation. And this will also give him a chance to collaborate with other operations substantively on the work level, and not just network at the career level, right? Then the fourth thing that we did was we started then building relationships around who do we need to be working with, who do we need to be selling this concept to, internally as well as to the private sector, and how do we want them to experience him and his solutions. And this is the important part of building a personal brand, is how do you want them to experience you, right? Because oftentimes I think when we talked about reputation and when we talked about your career progression, there was always the element of how good you need to be doing the work, meaning how the result needs to be showing themselves, right? But also nowadays in the personal brand, not only the result that is enough, but also how that result was achieved, meaning how your character traits and your personality, your attitudes came together in making that result happen, right? So the personal brand is then not only about what the solution and result you are known for, but also how you are able to bring those results together and how others experience you as you do it. And how, whether you are collaborative, whether you are very open to solving the problem, whether you are efficient, effective, whether you are to the point, or troublemaker, all of those things, right? So that's why we started looking at, okay, building relationships where how do we want my client to be experienced by others through the work, through networks, through building relationships, and through selling this concept to those people who will eventually fund. And the fifth part is obviously based on all of this, having your own multi-year vision of how this all gets implemented in practice. right? So the way that you can think about it is, what is the first year's job that needs to happen for you to be associated with this type of problem and solutions, and specifically with this type of results that you bring to the table, and how you bring this result to the table, right? So in my client's case, we have then designed a 3-year plan of what needs to happen the first year, as to who do we need to be talking to, how do we need to be presenting these problems and solutions, and how do we need to be piloting and learning from that lesson. The second year, as to who do we need to be building bridges and collaborating across different operations and continents, right? And also replicating it in other operations, and slowly getting his visibility and his personal brand through that work in the third year, right? Now, obviously, it will continue growing as you do this, but the personal brand concept really is getting you to be more intentional and strategic and systematic about how you build your reputation for being known for solving something specific type of problem systematically across different operations, maybe, or within your operation. So you get very intentional about it, and you also get intentional about how people experience you in those processes and in those work collaborations, right? So if we look at it from that intentional multi-year angle of, this is the vision of where I'm going, this is who I want to be known for, or what I want to be known for, and here are the things that I demonstrate with my work, with my results, with my attitude that I bring, the personality I bring in the process of bringing that result. And here's how I want to be visible and to these people. And then how I want to be associated in the workplace when it comes to this type of problems, right? And these type of solutions. So I hope that this was helpful for you to have the step-by-step process of how this can look like for you. And also, the great thing about this, as I said, is this will help you also then prepare yourself for how you want to be visible on social media, if you want to already now, and how you want to be visible in other platforms that you haven't really intentionally thought about it. And then how you will be using this outside of UN or outside of the system eventually, if you want to leave, so that you have enough time and enough results and networks that you have built that will then help you transition to something else easier and better, rather than start thinking about how to do it outside when you left the system. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't do that. And of course, a lot of clients are doing it. But I'm just thinking about how we can already prepare you within the system as to what are the things that needs to be in place, what are the things that needs to be solved, what are the things you want to be known for already intentionally. And then we can use that whenever or if ever you leave to something else. Okay, my dears, if you would like to join my Humanitarian Millionaires Mastermind to work on this and to get yourself ready already within the system, if you haven't left, and then building this personal brand within the system, and then transferring it to somewhere else outside, then absolutely join me, talk to me. I'm actually going to make some slots available for you to talk to me individually, so you can do that as well. And I can't wait to greet you inside.